Let's go now to Jerusalem. Noga Tarnopolsky is our correspondent there who's waiting to join us live. Noga, good evening to you. The situation, once again, I think you and I have had this conversation before. We are told one thing is happening, then on the ground, clearly there is another sequence of events playing out. And in this case, of course, once again, we're seeing lives lost.
That's absolutely right. In fact, the latest information I have, Mark, is that there are at least 11 Lebanese killed in the last 24 hours of this ceasefire war, as it's being called in northern Israel. What we have is a sense, I would say, of no leadership or disconnected leadership. The White House did announce a new ceasefire, an extended ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. And speaking, as it were, on behalf of Hezbollah, the Lebanese government that has declared Hezbollah an enemy said that the Islamist terror group would agree to respect it. Then we heard from Hezbollah directly, from the leader of Hezbollah, saying it rejected the very notion of these Lebanese-Israeli negotiations. Then again, we heard from Israeli and Lebanese sources that, in fact, Hezbollah would accept these terms if Israel stopped shooting. And throughout the day, there's been absolute ambiguity from the Israeli leadership that basically hasn't even related to the ceasefire, as if it doesn't exist or maybe exists. And what we've seen on the ground is a reduced intensity of fighting on both sides, but ongoing fighting also on both sides. So less, I would say, intense, less lethal, but ongoing. And right now, we just have rumors to go on that maybe at some point in the next 24 hours, an actual ceasefire will come into play. There's a just immense lack of clarity about whether Israeli forces will withdraw to south of the Litani River, whether the Israeli forces will leave certain enclaves in Lebanon. All of this is part of the great unknown right now.
There are many questions, aren't there, Noga? Many questions on this one. And when you hear that a UN soldier, I understand a soldier from Serbia, part of the UNIFIL mission in Lebanon, has lost his life, you start to question what the word ceasefire means. When you hear about families who are getting forced from their homes and their homes being destroyed, you question, what does a ceasefire mean? And I know where you are, there are people who are angry about the situation as well. Who is going to change this? Is this part of the central problem between Trump and Netanyahu?
It could be, although it's really, again, unclear. I think that part of the kind of chaos in global leadership right now is allowing some countries, like Israel in this case, to cling to ambiguity, so not saying yes and not saying no, while continuing at least a certain degree of fighting. And with Hezbollah, what we have is Iran. Iran is the sponsor of Hezbollah, and Iran explicitly and overtly has been giving instructions to Hezbollah not to cease fighting until all Israeli forces withdraw from Lebanon, which isn't even part of the ceasefire agreement as the White House stated it. So it's simply right now a battle of messaging and mismessaging. And I have to be honest with you and with the viewers that what we see, that people are still being hurt and still being killed. There was a very audacious attempt, by the way, today by Hezbollah, who launched a rocket, I believe, or possibly a drone, but I believe a rocket to the north of Israel today, just minutes after the Israeli prime minister had visited there. So we really can't say there's a de-escalation. On the other hand, we do see, I would say, a slowing down of this conflict, and probably we're going to have to wait to see how the White House ends up reacting.
We can wait for that and see how that goes. I wonder if there's anything else that can be pulled into the discussion there, because clearly Donald Trump will say one thing, Benjamin Netanyahu will do another, and Netanyahu has a whole sequence of things going on alongside him that's pushing his narrative.
Netanyahu is really boxed in right now. Under Israeli law, elections have to be held by October the 27th. He's nearing the deadline for any possibility of calling early elections. He's losing in every single poll now for a very, very long time. So he's trying to not lead the country to elections. He's trying to flee his own corruption trial, every day finding a new security reason not to show up. His I would say his disagreement, his very dangerous disagreement for Israel with Donald Trump exploded into the open after he had denied it ever happened. And Netanyahu really has almost no international allies left. So we've seen, for example, his foreign minister in the last 2 days announced the opening of new embassies in Fiji and in Slovenia, which is excellent for Israel. But on the other hand, Israel has almost severed its ties to most of Western Europe, to the UK, to France, to Germany, to the powerhouses that it would need on its side. So Netanyahu is simply not in a position to say no to Donald Trump. And yet at the same time, he's not in a position to say no to his extremist ministers who are demanding that Israel invade all of Lebanon. In fact, the Minister of National Security, Tamar Ben-Gvir, today tweeted that this is time for the prime minister to say, Donald Trump, we love you, but no, and to pursue an invasion of Lebanon. And so this is why we're not really hearing any clear messages. I believe that he simply doesn't know what to say.
So Netanyahu between a rock and a hard place, but it's the people in South Lebanon who are paying the price right now. Noga, thank you very much indeed. We don't know where this will go next, but clearly we know that you will be monitoring every step for us. Thank you very much indeed, Noga Tarnopolsky, our correspondent in Jerusalem. Thanks again.